What's the dumbest reason you've ever gotten into a fight? Did someone spoil a movie for you? Did some absolute psychopath take the last slice of pizza without asking? Those are valid. I would throw hands over pizza. But what if I told you that two of the most powerful empires in human history went to full-blown, cannons-firing, ship-sinking war over a piece of pickled head cartilage? Welcome to 1739. Welcome to the absolute clown car of geopolitics known as the War of Jenkins Ear. This is the story of how a crusty, marinated piece of anatomy became the ultimate piece of war propaganda, proving once and for all that politicians will use literally anything to steal your money. Our story starts in 1731 in the Caribbean. Enter Robert Jenkins. Jenkins is a British merchant ship captain, which, in the 1700s, was basically just a fancy legal term for professional smuggler who occasionally bays. Jenkins is sailing his ship, the Rebecca, probably full of illegal rum and bad vibes, when he gets pulled over by the Spanish Coast Guard. Now, the Spanish and the British hated each other. They were basically the messy, divorced couple of Europe, constantly fighting over who got custody of the trade routes. The Spanish captain, a guy named Julio León Fandiño, boards the ship. He searches it, finds some contraband, and completely loses his mind. He doesn't just write Jenkins a ticket. Oh no! Fandiño decides to get medieval. He grabs Jenkins, pulls out his sword, absolutely yoinks Jenkins' left ear right off his head. Slice. Gone. Goodbye, spatial audio. And Fandiño doesn't stop there. He hands the bloody ear back to Jenkins and drops the hardest, most unnecessarily cold line in nautical history. He says, "Go and tell your king that I will do the same, if he dares to do the same." Bruh. He essentially said, take your ear, show it to your monarch, and tell him he can catch these hands next. It is a level of disrespect so pure, it should be bottled. Now, what would a normal person do? Maybe throw the ear in the ocean? Go see a doctor to stop bleeding out? Not Robert Jenkins. Jenkins is a hoarder. Jenkins takes his severed ear, dumps it into a jar of liquor to preserve it, and just keeps it. He keeps it for 7 years. Think about that. For 7 years, this guy is carrying around his own pickled body part like a forbidden kombucha SCOBY. Every time he had guests over, you know he brought it out. Hey guys, want some tea? Want to see my jar of marinated herring meat? Absolutely psychotic behavior. Fast forward to 1738. The British Parliament is foaming at the mouth. They are desperate to go to war with Spain. Why? Because Spain has lots of gold in the Americas, and Britain wants it. It's that simple. But you can't just say, hey public, we want to go murder people for cash. You need an excuse. You need PR. You need a victim. Someone remembers Jenkins. They called this guy into the House of Commons. The most powerful men in the British Empire, wearing those giant, powdered, ridiculous white wigs, all sitting in a fancy room. Jenkins walks in, reaches into his coat, and plonks a 7-year-old cloudy jar of liquor containing a shriveled, leathery human ear onto the table. It was the ultimate 3rd grade show-and-tell presentation. Jenkins supposedly tells the room, I commended my soul to God and my cause to my country. The politicians act like they've just witnessed a live murder. They are screaming. They are crying. They are tearing their stupid wigs off. The disrespect. The Spanish mutilated a British citizen. We must destroy them. Did they care about Jenkins? No. They didn't give a single flying rat's ass about Jenkins or his ear. They just looked at that floating piece of jerky and saw a blank check for imperialism. And so, in 1739, driven entirely by the political weaponization of a pickled ear, the War of Jenkins' Ear begins. Was it a glorious, heroic conflict? Absolutely not. It was a miserable tropical nightmare. The British sent tens of thousands of men to the Caribbean to attack Spanish forts. Do you know what happens to tens of thousands of British guys stuffed into wooden boats in the 1700s Caribbean? They don't die in glorious sword fights. They die of yellow fever, malaria, and dysentery. They are basically aggressively crapping themselves to death in the jungle because some guy kept his ear in a jar. The British suffered catastrophic losses at the Battle of Cartagena de Indias. We're talking 20,000 casualties. It was a logistical disaster of epic proportions, and the war eventually just kind of fizzled out and merged into a completely different, much larger European war. Because history is exhausting. So, what's the moral of this horrific, stupid story? Well, first, if someone chops off a piece of your body, throw it away. Don't pickle it. You are not a cucumber. Second, the next time a politician gets up on a podium and tries to make you furious about some specific highly emotional symbol, take a step back. Ask yourself, are they actually mad about this, or are they just using a metaphorical jarred ear to send you to die in a swamp so they can get rich? History isn't just written by the victors. Sometimes it's written by the guy psychotic enough to save his own leftovers. Subscribe to the channel before I send the Spanish Coast Guard to your house!